131873 righto. Well, we covered this yesterday. The disaster that's unfolding at the brand new Eastern Creek Speedway. Now, this is the speedway that used to be at Parramatta, just off James Roos Drive there near Rosehill Racecourse. And they had to move it from Parramatta to Eastern Creek because of the new metro train that was going in there. Now, this speedway, it was supposed to cost taxpayers, I think, $40 million. Guess what the price tag is now? $100 million. Deary me. So it's meant to host 35 speedway events every year, yet season 2023-2024, it was supposed to start next weekend, but it's been cancelled. Suddenly the speedway has been closed, slammed shut, and the season has been cancelled. Now, why? We tried all afternoon yesterday to get an answer, but there are thousands of people right around the city rightly alarmed at what's starting to look like a bit of a white elephant, a colossal white elephant at Eastern Creek. $100 million. Our money, mind you. Taxpayer money. And we spoke to a few of you on air about this yesterday, but today we've got the source. We're going straight to the source. Dennis Newlyn, he's the media officer at the Speedway at Eastern Creek, and he's a good man, and he's on the line. G'day, Dennis.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
I'm well. So how old is the Speedway?
Well, the Speedway opened on the 12th of March last year, 2022, and as you rightly said, it is the replacement for the 43-year-old Parramatta City Raceway that Sydney Metro required for their Metro West rail link, the land for stabling yards. But what has happened since then has been a lot of problems out there, Chris, constructional issues. And
at Eastern Creek?
Yes, at Eastern Creek Speedway. And it's just got to this, like Sydney Speedway today is decimated. There are so many followers of this sport around Sydney who love the sport, followed it for years. Where it goes to from here right now, I don't know.
Just quickly, so it was supposed to cost $40 million, this thing. It blew out to $100 million. Why?
Well, as I said, constructional issues. There has been a massive problem with the water drainage system out there. That has caused major grief for the promoters because they had to cancel a big night because the people were already in. They couldn't bring the track, get it ready. The track grader could not. There was too much water, excess water that wouldn't run off the track. They had to refund the thousands of people their gate admission. That's only just one example. The power supply, allegedly these are things that power supply into the pit area. The lighting after it was opened had to be more lighting installed. The way the source of shape, Chris, of the venue is not conducive. This is what's allegedly created, the water drainage situation. And the promoters, look, I have been to hell and back over this, so it's just reached a point now where that's it.
Righto. So it's just too hard to race there. So you cancelled season 2023-2024, is that right? You've thrown your hands up and you said, you know what, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I think that's it now. Now that's the way it's looking at the moment. Now, I think before a new promotional team, however this follows from here to get the venue opened again, we would say we are saying probably the whole season, yes, but that's how it's looking at the moment anyway. It depends the speed in which all these issues are resolved, fixed, and the design.
Well, who's going to resolve them, Dennis? The government? Who runs it? Is it a government-run facility or what?
Well, it was a government-built facility, and they contracted a constructional company to build it. So I'm really presuming, and quite the way it's gone, this is got to be fixed by them.
Yeah, righto. And it's not going to be a small amount of money, I'm assuming.
Well, there are issues out there that who knows how long's a piece of string, I guess. What is the final cost? But, Chris, I just want to say something else, too, which I think the sport has not only decimated today, but this is an ongoing situation. Like when Parramatta City Raceway closed, there was 2 years without racing in Sydney. Now, Speedway is a major motorsport industry. You've got parts suppliers, you've got race car constructors, you know, there are people. It's a major infrastructure. It's an industry. And we had not had racing in Sydney for 2 years. Now, this is the first time since the end of World War II Speedway in Sydney has not been conducted during the summer months. Speedway in Sydney started in 1926 at the former Moore Park Sydney Showground. So it's got an incredible heritage, incredible history, but the last 4 years have been a disaster.
Well, here's one for you, Dennis. I'm just looking at I did some research on this about who was to blame because his name was brought up yesterday, and it was Andrew Constance. So Andrew Constance, former Transport Minister in New South Wales, he's trying to get into the Senate again. He failed once. He failed running for Gilmore. So he's trying to get into the Senate again. But this is what he said about building the Eastern Creek Speedway. Quote, this is from 2019. I'm pretty confident we can just put a clay track down, build some stands for the fans, put in a pit. It's not complex work. Well, 2 years later, 4 years later, they're in a situation where they put the clay track down, and guess what? We've spent $100 million doing it, and you can't race there, Dennis. What does that say about Andrew Constance's competence?
Well, look, the whole thing has been just a litany of situations. Look, Speedway advisors, right from day one when it indicated that Parramatta City Raceway was going to close, Speedway advisors, Speedway experts, former Speedway competitors, current Speedway competitors, national governing bodies, you name it. Everybody put forward a proposal how the venue should be built, and it should be modelled off a venue in Western Australia called the Perth Motorplex.
That wasn't done, Dennis.
No.
And you know, what doesn't make any sense to me is when you said it was Sydney Metro who was the project manager. So can you explain to me why Transport for New South Wales would tell Sydney Metro, a mob that build train tracks and tunnels for trains, saying, hey, can you build a speedway? What have they got to do with Speedway? They're a train builder.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think the very fact that this probably was inherited from the fact that it was Sydney Metro who wanted to take over the Granville-Clyde Showground to build their stabling yards there, and there was a public protest, you can't close our speedway, and that's how Sydney Metro became involved with the ongoing decision. Well, there's people out there, a lot of people who love Speedway, so we can't close down their sport in Sydney. That's how Eastern Creek came about. That's how Sydney Metro became involved. That's how they allocated a construction company, and so it goes on.
It's a disaster. And Dennis, I feel very sorry for you. I feel very sorry for the participators because Speedway is a much-loved industry and people earn a quid out of it. It's their livelihoods, right? So if you can't race at Eastern Creek, a $100 million facility that we, the taxpayers, paid for, and you can't race there because it's no good, that's just a sad state of affairs. Dennis, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, good to speak with you, Chris. Thank you very, very much.
That's Dennis Newlyn from the Eastern Creek Speedway. 131873. We're trying to get a hold of the Planning Minister, Paul Scully, to see what he has to say. Supposedly it's being managed by Western Sydney Parkland, so this whole debacle falls under him. Now, you tell me how that works. What does the Planning Minister have to do with the Speedway? And I think this is what's wrong with this thing from day one.